The film begins in 1981 in San Francisco with Chris Cardens, the inventor of a portable bone condensation device. He spent all his money on this invention and tried in every way to sell this invention. But this invention was expensive and failed. And this is the reason that led to problems with his wife Linda, who worked all day to help pay the bills. And one time Chris looked at his dream car and asked its owner how I owned this car. And his response was, "I work as a stockbroker." Chris decided to apply for Dean Witter Company, hoping to work in the company. He tried to meet Syed Twiss, the company's human resources director, and went with him to the car to convince him to work for the company. And he was lucky because Mr. Twiss was trying to solve the Rubik's Cube, which was impossible to solve in 10 minutes. But Chris took the cube and solved it while talking about the company. And this is what made Mr. Twice care about Chris's file, but his talk with Mr. Twiss. He made him delay in picking up his son from the nursery, as he had agreed with his wife. Because of this, his wife became very upset and left the house and took her son with her. In the midst of all this tragedy, the phone rang from the Dean Witter Company, and Chris had an interview. The next day, Chris went to his wife to take his son to live with him, and because accumulation of unpaid bills. The owner of the house told Chris that he should either pay the bills or fire Chris. Chris agreed with the owner of the house that he would work in the hotel in exchange for living in it. But because of his bad luck, the police came to arrest Chris because of the accumulation of bills, and he went to prison, and because of this, he was late for a meeting with the company. He quickly went to the company in prison clothes and tried to convince the manager that he was very good at numbers. The company owner asked him, "What if a person came to you in normal clothes and without a shirt?" Chris replied, "He must have nice pants." The company owner smiled and Chris was accepted, but Chris apologized for the job because he had to work 6 months for free as a trainee. But Mr. Twistle decided to convince Chris to come to the company as a trainee. And then Chris left and kept thinking about the training issue, and called Mr. Twistle to tell him that he had agreed to train in the company. He moved to another hotel and left his son in the barn and began training in the company. He had a mission to accomplish greater things. He made a specific number of calls so that he would have priority for appointment. And he had a plan not to drink liquids while working so that he would not go to the bathroom and make the largest number of calls. And his life began to improve a little. But then a letter was sent to him saying that if he did not pay taxes, they would withdraw all his money from the account. And in the next day, all his money was withdrawn and he became penniless. After a long day, he returned to the hotel to be surprised that the hotel had been evicted and all his belongings had been thrown outside because he had not paid the rent. He took all his belongings with his son and went to the train station and stayed with his son there and slept there. The next day he went to a shelter. The poor man spent a whole day there, and after 6 months of suffering, he was informed that you had been hired by the company as a stockbroker, and he felt that he was happy for the first time in his life.